2021, and we just got a notification that tonight's meeting will be recorded. But it's really good to have all of you here for tonight's meeting. It will be a very interesting and wonderful meeting, and I really appreciate those of you who have logged down on time and to participate. We didn't have any roundtable last month, so we have not seen each other for quite a while in terms of the roundtable meeting. Okay, but welcome all. But before we go fully into the welcome, we're gonna go straight into time of devotions, and I'm gonna ask JP Carleen Allen to lead us in the time of devotions. JP Carleen, your time.
Pleasant evening to everyone.
Good evening.
In the session at this time. This is another day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I just want to share a verse of scripture with you this evening from Galatians 6, verse 9, which says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." This is the word of the Lord. At a time where we are facing unusual times, some people say it's not normal. We are in unprecedented times. But the word of God always encourages us. Once we read them, once we believe in those words, and just to share from a writer that says, "My mentor and friend for more than 50 years never gave up on me. His unchanging friendship and encouragement, even during my darkest times, helped carry me through." We often find ourselves determined to reach out and help someone we know who is in great need. But when we fail to see improvement right away, our resolve can weaken and we may eventually give up. We discover that what we hoped would be an immediate change has become an ongoing process. And I'm sure that many of us can associate with some of these experiences or what other persons have experienced. We can attest to the fact that some of these things are just so true, so just so evident in our daily lives, especially now. But the Apostle Paul urges us to be patient in helping one another through the stumbles and struggles of life. And as justices of the peace, our tasks are great, but we have decided to volunteer our services, and we have also been doing this together, helping one another. There are many circumstances that we have gone overboard. We have extended ourselves voluntarily. We have extended ourselves to help one another. And this is what the word of God is saying to us this afternoon, that we should not become weary in what we are doing. So even though sometimes we may think that what our efforts are in vain, we have not been commended for our effort, we have not been recognized for the task that we have completed or we have achieved, but there is a God who will reward us openly and will reward us in due time when the harvest is ready, when the harvest is ripe. We will be repaid. So I encourage us this afternoon that even though we are in these troublesome times, changing times, we have gotten frustrated many times. As a teacher, I can tell you, it is not easy. And I know that there are other teachers in our group as justices of the peace. And it is not easy. This online teaching and learning, we struggle with it. And we wonder if at the end of the day, it will really work. But our efforts will not go unnoticed. So when Paul writes, carry each other's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ, he is comparing our task to the work, the time, and waiting it takes for a farmer to see a harvest. So our harvest day is coming. We don't know when, but it's coming. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. How many times should we reach out? We ask that question sometimes because we keep reaching out and reaching out and reaching out so many times, and is it as if it's not being recognized, it's not being appreciated many times, but we still hold fast. As we have opportunity, let us do good to all people. And that may sound very difficult too, because sometimes there are persons that it's very hard to do things for them. Persons who are ungrateful, unkind, selfish. But because we lean on the word of God, because we know what God expects us to do, because we continue to live by his strength, we continue to be guided and guarded by him each day, then our task we will get paid. We will be rewarded for our tasks. The Lord encourages us today to trust him, to remain faithful to others, to keep on praying and not give up. So as we continue with our tasks, our expectations are great. There are many persons who are expecting great things from us. But together, let us build. Let us be strong. Let us strengthen the link each day as we take on each other's burdens. Let us pray. Father in heaven, we thank you one more time for your goodness, for your grace, for your mercy, for your love, for your peace that passeth all understanding. We thank you, Lord. As we approach another session, another roundtable session, we approach it with you, Almighty God. We continue to bear each other's burdens. We continue to remember your promises and to know that your promises are true. And so although we continue to struggle, we continue to stumble, we will not fall. And if we fall, Almighty God, we know that you will raise us up again. So we continue to ask for your strength. We continue to ask for your guidance, your coverage. We continue to ask that you keep us safe from all harm, from all ill, from the evil one who may be there waiting to approach, waiting to devour. But we know that with you, Almighty God, everything is possible. And so we leave this session in your hands right now. And we promise that we will continue to follow your word, to do your will, to be in your way at all times. And we tell you thanks for a productive session. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Justice Carlin, for very, very meaningful devotions. And I hope that everyone would have been encouraged by the words which you shared. And just a reminder that our reward comes from the Lord.
Amen. Amen.
And that's where we should be looking for when we serve. Thank you very much again. Very, very wonderful.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Justice Boy.
Yes, yes. Excellent. So I'd just like to welcome again everyone to the Roundtable meeting for June 2021. And special welcome to those GPs attending the Roundtable for the first time. Do we have anybody? This is your first Roundtable meeting. Can you indicate? Okay, so. All right, so everybody here, experienced campaigners. All right, so welcome to all of you. The Roundtable, just in case you're a bit shy, it's a monthly coming together of GPs of St. Mary for a time of updates. We have input from the Honorable Costas, interactions with guest presenters. We're gonna have one tonight, training sessions, and other things like that. Okay, the Roundtable was started in May 2020 as a response to the challenges of bringing GPs together for continuous development. in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, so we just want to welcome you. We normally recognize those persons who were born this month. Okay, anybody, any birthdays in the month of June? We want to wish you a happy birthday. Anybody? No June babies tonight? Or anniversaries? Okay, so that's amazing. No celebrations this month. And we also want to express our condolences to those of you who have lost loved ones, okay, from your family or close friends. Anyone lost anyone? Any deaths? Anybody had family members passing? Okay. So June has been a quiet month so far for everyone. Okay, so really, very, very good. Okay, at this time, we're gonna go straight into the time of update on the St. Mary Community Outreach and Empowerment Initiative. And I'm gonna ask JP Carroll, Dean Vezina, to share that update for us. And the media team, I think she has a presentation to share, so you can give her hosting rights as well. So she can share her presentation. So JP Carroll.
Yes, thank you, JP Wesley.
Yes.
Just waiting on the PowerPoint to come up.
Are you putting on your camera or are you keeping it off?
Oh, yeah, sorry, forgotten that. There we go. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is the media team bringing up that PowerPoint, JP Wesley?
Or you wanted to be brought up from, okay.
Okay, yes, I thought that was what was happening.
They were giving you the right to bring it up, the hosting privilege. You know how to bring it up?
No, I've not done it before, so it's probably quicker to do it from your end.
Okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take a commercial break while I set up this presentation. Okay, so let's have our sponsors, Northgate High School and the Catalyst Bookstore. We're gonna have two ads from them, and then JP Carroll will go after that.
Do you have children 10 to 14 years old? Are you looking for an online school option that offers live video interaction between students and the teacher? Are you looking for a safe environment to help build character in your child? Then contact us at Northgate High School. We engage a values-based approach to education while delivering academic and life skills training. Parents of homeschooled children and those with children who are temporarily without a school option for this term, contact us. We may just be the answer you're looking for. Call us 876-506-2785 or email us northgatehigh2012, that is northgatehigh2012@gmail.com. Northgate High School, impact through education. A Catalyst Bookstore and Stationery Supplies is a unique and powerfully functioning resource center. We offer educational materials and resources for strong family life. We encourage our families to not only learn together, but play together. The Catalyst strongly believes in community development, and so we interface with schools and institutions promoting mental, social, and spiritual health. The Catalyst Bookstore and Stationery Supplies. Shop number 44, Ocean Village Shopping Center, Port Reef. Telephone 876-974-3710 or WhatsApp 876-293-1150. The Catalyst, a resource center with family at heart.
Anytime you're ready, JP Wesley. Okay, so as you may all know, we have since the beginning of the year started an initiative called the St. Mary Justice of the Peace Community Outreach and Empowerment Initiative. So this is just an update as to where we are at this point. The coordinators of the team, we have welcomed recently 3 new members in the coordinating team. So the total team members now are Wesley Boynes, who is the chair, Kelleen Roden, Pauline Steele, that should be Davis, forgive the error, Carol Deans Vezina, Omar Marston, Tanisha Willis Miller, Paulette Nelson. So these are the members who have been committed to ensuring that everything functions well under the guidance of JP Wesley. Just reminding you of our mission, our vision really. It is reaching, touching, and collaborating with communities of St. Mary at the point of their needs. So that's what this initiative is about. That's the vision. How the vision is unfolding to this point. Our vision, in part, finding communities' point of need. Yes? How has that been realized so far? With the effects of the pandemic, school children, especially in the lower economic strata, were failing or are failing. Yes, you heard it every day on the news. Kids are not engaged through the media, through the medium, the technology medium. They're on the streets. So we chose to help the children, 60 in all. The grades and the schools were chosen. So we looked at who could we best impact. And we decided on the grade 5 children in the primary schools. So these would be the kids entering grade 5 this coming September. 3 schools were chosen. Well, in terms of a reason for the grade 5 is that we wanted to help these students who are preparing for the school exit exams, which would be in another year's time. And we found that with the impact of the pandemic, these are probably the ones who needed the help most. 3 primary schools have been chosen: Water Valley Primary, Hillside Infant and Primary, and Retreat Primary. The first 2 were our original choice coming out of the SDC Regional Managers recommendation to use the community of Islington as probably one of the best communities positioned right now to receive assistance. We had to, Retreat Primary was a replacement for Horace Clark High, who didn't show up at the meetings that we had invited them to. So we chose to use Retreat Primary as the replacement. So we have 3 primary now and no high school. So the mission is unfolding. So a while ago, I showed you how the vision is unfolding. Now I'd like you to see how the mission in part of our mission is to build strategic partnerships. And it is the realization in part is that having chosen the grades, having chosen the schools, we have met with the education stakeholders to this point. We have had 2 meetings with the principals, grades 4 and 5 teachers, guidance counselors, and I think on the first meeting, we had some representatives from the PTA as well. We chose, the principals, I believe, chose very rightly the grades 4 and 5 teachers, because these kids would have been all this time with the grade 4 teachers and to come into grade 5 come September. So the grade 4 teachers know them best at this point. We will continue our meetings with the educational stakeholders up to July, when they go off to break, and we will meet again with them sometime down in late August, maybe. What they're working on now is identifying the beneficiaries. That has begun. We have spoken to them on our last meeting, and majority of them have already identified, I think actually all of them have identified beneficiaries for this initiative. And it's the process is probably complete in terms of whom they have chosen. And so we now just have to get back to them to get that list and all the other information from them. What we gave to them was this as a mandate for the selection of the youth. They were to identify, we are identifying through them high achieving and average performing youths who exhibit potential for leadership and for helping others, but who are experiencing challenges and are being derailed. Having identified them, we're going to assist them to access the needed tools, resources, and mentorship that is needed to complement or supplement their learning, and that will give them the best outcome possible. Having given that mandate, we broke it down for them a little bit more, so their selection process would be a little more clarified. We broke it down in terms of, for example, the economic needs. We're going to look at kids, high performing and average performing kids who have leadership qualities but have economic issues. Caring and people-oriented children who will in turn help other children. Children whose schoolwork, they were doing well before, but their schoolwork has now fallen off, has been affected by something. Usually it's a lacking something, maybe the internet, maybe it's books, whatever. And also under economic needs, kids who have demonstrated bravery, courage, and selflessness throughout their school term. How are we going to help them? Through financial and non-financial support. We're going to assist with any technological needs, communication, internet access, devices, whatever is pinpointed as their needs. Sometimes it might be just basic school needs, such as textbooks. We're also going to use sensitization and awareness sessions for these children. Additionally, we're looking at children with behavioral issues So the teachers, the principals, the guidance counselors will be looking for children who have a negative change in attitude or to their schoolwork. They are previously very good students, but something has happened to change their attitude or their schoolwork. High achievers who have poor attitudes or behavior. Yes, so these might be kids who do very well, but they don't have the right behavior or attitude. How will we help them? Mentorship and empowerment sessions. Yes, so this will happen once per term, one mentorship program that will encompass the whole, all the children who need it, and empowerment sessions. And if necessary, we may have one-on-one sessions as our resources allow us. We will also have sensitization and awareness for this group as well. How the students will be chosen continued. Health factors. We thought that the kids can't learn if they're nutritionally deficient. So we wanted to look at students who arrive at school hungry, students who carry nutritionally deficient snacks or meals. Most of them will get meals because of the PATH programs, but outside of that, they may also still have need for nutritional support. So that will be one avenue of help. The structure of our assistance is that we have 4 strands of support for this initiative: mentoring and empowerment, communications and technology, sensitization and awareness, and social and economical, educational impact. Justice Boyens is taking the lead with his foundation, the Northgate Youth and Family Foundation. Justice Pauline Steele Davis is taking the communications and technology lead. Colleen Rodney is taking the sensitization and awareness lead. And I am taking the social and educational impact lead. So that is basically the update at this point. We pointed out to the teachers, the educational stakeholders, that the selection of the children should be strictly based on what we have outlined to them and not have any political impact, not have any personal, preferences. So it should really just be according to what we have outlined to them. I hand over back to the chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, JP Carroll, for that beautiful update. And if you have any questions or comments, please write it down and we will facilitate them later down in the program. Okay, but we really appreciate that update from JP Carroll, and we're looking forward to the full support from all the JPs as we move forward with this program. Okay, we'll have a word from our sponsors before we go further. The Catalyst Bookstand and Northgate High School. They ensure that the media team is in place to manage our e-flyer production, our online registration when we do it at the Zoom platform. This is not one of those 40-minute Zoom platform. This is the extended professional platforms, so we can meet as long as we want. So big appreciation to those guys who are working in the background. And of course, I sent out 2 numbers. If you're having technical difficulty, you can call the media team members, Schubert Johnson at 893-5246 and Jabu at 371-7707. So if you're having a problem, you can't hear properly or something like that, you can call those guys and they will assist you. Okay, so we'll have a word for the sponsors, and when we come back, we will be introduced to our guest speaker and all of that.
Catalyst Bookstore and Stationery Supplies is a unique and powerfully functioning resource center. We offer educational materials and resources for strong family life. We encourage our families to not only learn together, but play together. The Catalyst strongly believes in community development, and so we interface with schools and institutions promoting mental, social, and spiritual health. The Catalyst Bookstore and Stationery Supplies, shop number 44, Ocean Village Shopping Center, Ocho Rios, telephone 876-974-3710 or WhatsApp 876-293-1150. The Catalyst, a resource center with family at heart.
Good day, everyone. Now, you may be wondering, why Northgate High School? Several thoughts come to mind, but I'll speak to three. One is the quality of the commitment of the staff to the student development and well-being, as well as to each other. Two, the commitment to discovering the way forward in these novel times together. And three, the quality of the leadership at the school. One, the commitment of the teachers. It is beyond what a paycheck can produce. This staff sincerely carries the students in their heart, producing things like heightened flexibility, sacrifice, and joyful service, and support of each other. Two, the ability to work together to discover the way forward. These are noble times, and therefore no one knows the answer by themselves. But because we have a system that allows us to hear the voice of our various stakeholders, it allows us our decision-making process to be well informed and well advised. And we know that that is the way to bringing forth plans that last. And three, the quality of the leadership. Persons who have been involved in the education sector for a prolonged period have joined hands and heart with us on the ground, and that is allowing us to pilot these times triumphantly. I want to thank God for overseeing this school and for really providing us with the ability to do the impossible in impossible times. So those are some of the reasons why I believe Northgate High School is worth your consideration for your child.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we will go straight into our guest presenter, and I'm going to ask JP Paulette Thuman McLennan to do the honors of introducing our guest presenter. JP Paulette.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To our customers.
Can you switch on the camera if possible?
It's on, but I'm going to share. I'm trying to read it from my screen as well.
Okay.
All right, so tonight, good night, everyone, all my fellow justices. Tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce to us the Honorable Colonel P. Charles Jr., Member of Parliament, is the Minister of the new and dynamic Ministry of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment, and Climate Change. He is also a two-time Member of Parliament, currently serving in Southeast Clarendon. Minister Charles is a former government senator and member of cabinet, where he served as minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, with responsibility for water, housing, and infrastructure. Prior to this appointment, he served as Minister of State
in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, with responsibility for diaspora affairs and the National Council for Coastal Zone Management. Among other areas, Minister Charles also served as Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security, where he had portfolio duties for the Department of Correctional Services, the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force, and special projects within the national security portfolio. He also continues to serve as the chairman of the UNESCO Youth Advisory Council. Colonel Charles Jr. is an attorney at law, qualified to practice law in Jamaica and the United States of America. Throughout his professional career, he served with distinction as a judicial clerk, senior clerk and of senior clerk of court, Crown Counsel at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, and as the lead counsel and managing attorney of the law offices of Colonel P. Charles Jr. The minister is also a former president of the Law Society and a former guild president of the University of the West Indies, where he earned 2 honors degrees, a Bachelor of Science double major in biochemistry and zoology, and a Bachelor of Laws. Additionally, he holds a Master of Laws degree from the George Washington University Law School in Washington, D.C., where he was awarded the Thomas Berkew Scholarship for Academic Performance. Colonel Charles Jr. was born with a passion for community service, and as a youth advocate, he continues to actively participate in community activities geared towards uplifting underserved communities and protecting the most vulnerable. Let me now invite the Honorable Colonel P. Charles Jr., MP, to address us.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that I'm being heard.
Hearing you.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful. I have on my fan, so if at any time it is too loud, please do let me know. Let me just firstly say it is my absolute pleasure to participate in this roundtable discussion hosted by the St. Mary Association of Justices of the Peace. Indeed, when I received the invitation from your Custos, a good friend, the Honorable Errol Johnson, I did not hesitate at all to confirm my attendance. And I want to just acknowledge our Custos and acknowledge you, Madam Moderator, as well as thank you for the wonderful introduction, and to acknowledge all of you, Honorable Justices of the Peace, ladies and gentlemen, friends, everyone, good evening to you. For this roundtable, you have chosen what I consider to be 2 of the most pressing concerns and challenges facing our country. This small island, but with a big heart that we call Jamaica. The environment and climate change. They're not mutually exclusive concepts. They are inextricably linked. That's what they are. And that is why we have a new and dynamic ministry of housing, urban renewal, environment, and climate change, connecting the dots all towards creating the synergy that we need to have a sustainable and resilient Jamaica. Indeed, in my view, it is our lack of stewardship of the environment, namely the degradation of our watersheds, the overexploitation of our natural resources, and the pollution that we create through the burning of fossil fuels that have contributed over time and intensified the impacts of climate change. This evening, when I got in, my wife remarked, "What is the smell?" And when I went back to the office, we realized that there's just this smell in the air, something burning. And we don't recognize the kind of impact our actions have on the quality of life, down to the air pollution, the quality of our own air that we breathe. So we at the ministry utilize science and evidence to guide our steps forward in enhancing Jamaica's ability to withstand the impacts of climate change, to protect its environment, and ultimately to protect our people. So I'm going to share with you this evening just a few facts, and I hope that you will indulge me in going through a little bit of what my ministry seeks to do in terms of the environment and climate change. And hopefully we have some time, if you wish, to throw some questions at me. So I'm going to move quickly. According to scientists, over the last 50 years, human activities have released enough carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to trap additional heat in the lower atmosphere. That is what has resulted in the warming of the earth by approximately 0.85 degrees Celsius. And each of the last 3 decades has been successively warmer than any preceding decade since 1850. I say that for you so you understand the circumstances that we are living in right now. Climate change is not something that we're talking about for the future. Right now, we're feeling it, we're seeing it, we're seeing the impact. Small island developing states, including Jamaica, are being disproportionately affected by this warming, as well as by other impacts of climate change. Compared with our emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, we are low emitters globally. So we are low emitters, but are also the most vulnerable. I hope you understand what that means. What it means is that we are feeling the adverse effects of climate change just based on where we are located geographically, and also based on our heavy dependence on natural resources. As far back as 2013, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change projected that Kingston, our capital, would be among the first places on Earth to experience climate departure as early as 2023. That is 2 years from now. And this means that every year after 2023 will produce higher and higher average temperatures than any previous year on record for the past 150 years. Hence, this is going to redefine what we call a tropical climate. It's going to move from being a tropical climate to just being a hot climate. This represents a very serious threat to human society and ecosystems alike. Not only that, but Jamaica is also particularly susceptible to weather-related impacts such as tropical storms. We know we have many hurricanes, and we also know that we unfortunately go through severe, severe droughts. What do we need to do? We need to look no further than our own parish. Look on St. Mary. Look at your St. Mary as an example. In early 2020, the Meteorological Service, which comes under my ministry as well, reported that the parishes of Portland and St. Mary were experiencing drought. You remember what was happening last year. 2 years prior to that, the parish experienced water restrictions in some sections due to worsening drought conditions. And I was there because I had the opportunity to serve in that portfolio area. So I know the serious conditions that we were having. And I know that the NWC was having significant problems attributed to low inflows to the Huntstown and the Sandhill facilities that many of you on this call will know and be familiar with. Now, as climate change continues to warm our atmosphere, what we expect is that there's going to be even more changes to the amount, the timing, the duration, and the intensity of rainfall, as well as the flow of water in our watersheds, and also the quality of aquatic and marine environments that we have in Jamaica. So we are all aware that because of where we are located, we are attractive to tourists. But guess what, Miss Cynthia Loney? We are also very attractive to hurricanes. So the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season began on June 1st, and it will end on November 30th. And some of the forecasters have already projected an above normal season with at least 17 named storms that we're looking out for. Mr. Wesley Boynes, I know you are like me, concerned because we experienced late last year that Jamaica, we don't need to have a direct hit, Mr. Boynes, for us to be adversely impacted. Remember last year, we never had a direct hit of the hurricane, but we were so adversely impacted just by getting caught within the ring of the hurricane. Indeed, the torrential rains that we experienced in October 2020 resulted in damage estimated over $1 billion. Our road infrastructure, agriculture assets, those were among the hardest hit. So the frequency and severity of these and other weather-related events are predicted to increase with climate change. And it's something which is very serious to us. And that is why at the ministry, we're taking the time to look on the empirical data, Ms. Staines, and to study it. The impacts of climate change present a clear and present danger to the lives and the livelihoods. So much so that former US President Barack Obama famously stated, "This is not a problem for another generation, not anymore. This is a problem for now." So, Paulette Nelson, I'm not telling you all of this to frighten you, but to advise you that we simply cannot afford to sit back and hope that the degradation of our environment and the resulting impacts of climate change they're not going to affect us in St. Mary. No, not St. Mary. I'm saying this because to be forewarned is to be forearmed, and we must be proactive in this regard. Opportunities exist for us to be proactive and to make our voices heard locally, regionally, and internationally on a challenge that I know and you know, as I'm saying now, will affect every one of us, every JP, everybody who comes to you for assistance, and everybody else in the country. So let me remind you, Goal 4 of the Vision 2030, which is our Jamaica National Development Plan, specifies the target of a healthy environment with outcomes including the sustainable management of natural resources, hazard risk reduction, climate change adaptation, as well as sustainable urban and rural development. An integrated and targeted approach is required for us to achieve this, and it must involve all of us at all levels, international, regional, local, as well as the parish and community levels. That is why I am so happy to be here with you, because you JPs are the leaders in your parish. You are the JPs. You know the good, you know the bad, you know the up, you know the down. People come to you, they confide in you, and they will speak to you. And if you have this information, if you're armed with this information, then my hope is that after this discussion, we will see Jamaica becoming more aware and hopefully better prepared. Our little country is doing its part. All right, we're doing our part to steer a shrinking global village away from the disaster. Let me tell you, our Prime Minister is known as a global leader. The United Nations Secretary General has identified him as one of the 3 prime ministers and presidents that is involved in seeking climate financing, $100 billion there to seek globally. I myself as minister, I am so happy to represent Jamaica on what we call the NDC partnership, which is a fairly well-recognized, it's the most well-recognized climate change partnership globally. And we're also well-known, as you know, in CARICOM as leaders on the issue related to climate change. Now, because of all of this, Ms. Paulette Nelson, Jamaica will be participating in a number of important global forums, including the 15th Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, which we call COP15, and also the 26th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate. I don't know why I have the but we are involved in COP15 and COP26. And these are important platforms where Jamaica is going to be actively engaged in negotiating targets to help us protect our oceans, our coastal and marine ecosystems, and to discuss issues like nature-based solutions, issues relating to adaptation and mitigation of the effects of climate change. So we are leading other countries in the Caribbean by being the 2nd country to submit a tougher, more ambitious climate action plan under what is called the Paris Agreement, which is the primary agreement that we have to really push all of the partners across the world to achieve the goals of reducing the temperatures, reducing our emission, and moving us as a global village towards better targets relating to climate change. Worldwide, we were also the 11th nation to submit an updated nationally determined contribution and the first in the Caribbean. Yes, we, little, but with Talawa. So we lead. And Jamaica was the first one in the Caribbean region to submit our NDC, which really defines how we as a country are going to now participate in reducing the impact we have on the world in terms of climate change. The United Kingdom is the one who will be hosting the upcoming UN Climate Summit in November 2021, November of this year. And they have commended Jamaica for taking the step of being the first to submit our NDCs. And they have urged other nations to follow what we have done. So in our NDC, you may ask, what have we said we're going to do? We aim to reduce emissions in two sectors primarily, which would be in terms of forestry and in terms of cutting emissions by renewables that we're going to introduce in our country. And the hope for us as a global village, as partners, is that by 2030, which is not far off, emissions covered by the NDCs should fall by between 1.8 to 2 million tons of carbon dioxide. And I know that for many that sounds like just a whole bunch of numbers. What it means is that we want to keep the global temperatures where they are and moving down. If that doesn't happen, I have to tell you, it's not going to be too long before we will have difficulties operating and living. Just take a look on Hellshire. Just take a look on Hellshire. I know that many of you used to visit Hellshire. And so you would have seen what Hellshire was 10 years ago. Elaine Swaby, Joan Walter, Pauline Steele. I know that you all visited and take a look on it now. You'll see that the sea level rise has taken away a lot of the beach. And you'll find that times are going to get hotter. It's not just you getting older. Times are getting hotter, it's getting warmer. And so you have to recognize that our actions are going to impact the world that the next generation lives in. But right now, it's going to impact the world we live in as well. So as leaders in your own right, JPs, and as respected members of your communities in this beautiful parish of St. Mary, it is critical that you add your voices to an issue that is right now upon us and is likely to affect all generations that come after us. I therefore am really grateful for this roundtable. It's an important portal, a platform for us to hear and to listen and to understand. Of necessity, I want you to consider a number of imperatives, including investing in resilient infrastructure, developing land use policies and enforcing building codes. These are things that my ministry, we are looking on right now. I want you to consider the provision of temporary housing for householders who have been displaced by flooding, land slippage, and other risks due to storms or other weather events caused by climate change. And in everything that we do, we must look towards building resilience. So right now, we are pushing our developers to build in resilience in how they think about the kind of ingredients they use, the kind of techniques that they use in building, and ultimately the product that they're going to, the outcome rather, of all of the construction must be the provision of a product that is resilient, not just low cost. Because low cost will give us greater access for more Jamaicans, but we don't want low cost and low quality, because in the long run, we're going to have to still spend more to relocate, to fix back, to repair. So we're moving towards the discussion of low-cost housing in such a way that the low cost is still resilient. So by the second quarter of this financial year, my ministry will be undertaking a climate resilient home design competition. And I invite you, Madge Moore and Valerie Bedward and all of you as JPs, Yolanda Janky, everybody, get your residents and your neighbors involved. The aim is not only to address some of the challenges being faced in the area of affordable housing and infrastructure development, but also to address issues like squatting and environmental degradation, some of the more important issues in our country. Bearing in mind that informal settlers, squatters, as we call it, but I prefer the name informal settlers, are among the most vulnerable in our society. And that is the cohort that, as a Minister of Housing, when I leave here, I want to say that I have done something, if it is even the policy framework, to help that cohort to be able to be recognized as valuable in our communities and move them up, lift them up into order and out of chaos. They have to have access to services. Police must be able to police the space properly, lighting, infrastructure. That is the way we're going to see reductions in crime and increase in productivity. Let me move quickly because it's a lot to say and I know that time is going. With the hurricane season, as I said, upon us, we need increased awareness. We need to prepare. We need to predict. And so we have been working to identify disaster-prone areas and to incorporate this information into how we plan to reduce risk and to become more climate resilient. And I am proud to tell you, JPs, your country, your little country, Jamaica, is the first country globally to begin developing a predictive climate risk assessment planning tool for major infrastructure areas. And this is done under what we call the CCRI, the Coalition for Climate Resilient Investment. This tool is going to allow us as decision makers to assess climate risk to Jamaica's infrastructure and to visualize hotspots. So we'll be able to identify the amount of risk before we move forward, before we spend the money, so that we spend your money in a way that is wise. And the testing of this tool is slated to begin this month. We're also in the process of developing a climate change data node, which is going to store and manage and provide access to information, to data related to climate for all users, so that they can facilitate planning and promote sustainable development. One more thing I'll tell you, protecting our cultural heritage is also very important. And so we have to protect our cultural heritage against climate risk. And we do so by making sure that it is included, we include mitigation of this in the planning and action. You have a number of historical and cultural sites in St. Mary that need to be preserved. The Castleton Botanical Garden, you have the Rio Nuevo battle site, you have the Anata Bay Baptist Church, which Caroline Francis, Pamela Dorrit, am I right? Glenmore Mason, that it is the first Baptist church built in Jamaica. Tracy Keane, you can tell me if it's, I think it's 1824 that it was built. You have the Firefly, the home of British playwright Noel Coward. So there's a lot. I mean, St. Mary is ripe with our heritage and cultural epitaphs that we must protect. One area that needs attention is gender implications on climate change risk. So for women, particularly poor women, any displacement due to hazards can have a deleterious effect on their life and their livelihood. So we have built in and we are advancing this discussion because the strategies to deal with the impact of natural hazards must then include a gender component. And that's not to sway it only to the focus on women, but where there is more vulnerability in men, we also consider that. But the fact is you have to look on the gender component component, sorry, when looking on how we respond in terms of the climate change risk. In addition, and I'm winding down, the protection of our natural resources, including wildlife, fish, and plants, should be identified in mitigation plans and protection measures. And so even in cabinet, we discussed recently and passed the protection of the Black River area as a protected area. And here in St. Mary, you have the Rockabessa Bay Sanctuary, which was created to address the problem of unsustainable fishing practices.
2 goals in 20 appearances last season also landed her the Golden Boot.
Hello?
Forward Marie Antoinette Katoto with 21.
I think somebody's, oh. Are you hearing me? No? Hearing me loud and clear?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
That was just the news that came on a while ago.
Yes,
I'm going to take it that it's a message that I need to wind down. So I'll wind down.
Yes, we're hearing.
All right, thank you. I was just saying to you that in St. Mary, you have the Rockabessa Bay Fish Sanctuary, which was created to address the issue of unsustainable fishing practices. And the fish sanctuary has been gazetted by the ministry responsible for agriculture and fisheries as a marine protected area. In addition, we have the Blue and Jonkra Mountains National Park, which is another important biodiversity hotspot, which also spreads to a small section of southeast St. Mary. And as you know, the park was designated by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site in 2015 for its natural and cultural heritage. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to consider. I have said a lot, but we must take concrete steps to preserve our natural and cultural heritage. And we have to ultimately climate proof our country. That's the best way to put it. This is going to require coordination among all stakeholders, especially you, as I said, our leaders in the community, our JPs. As I close off, let me just remark that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought so many challenges. It's just enormous challenges. But I think that I prefer to look also on the opportunities that it has put to us to rethink our usual approach. And we have to rethink our approach to environmental conservation, as well as our approach to climate resilience and building of climate resilience. Now is the time, as the Prime Minister has said, to build forward better. And I call on all of you. I call on you, Carol Vizina, Joycelyn Edwards, Caroline Francis, all of the JPs. I call on you to think, to stretch your minds in your home, at the school, at the church, wherever you are. We want you to think about these issues relating to your environment and how you can play your role. I just want to say, the government is working for you. We have promulgated a new Fisheries Act. We are also currently working on updating the National Oceans and Coastal Zone Management Policy. We're developing a national fisheries and aquaculture policy. We're going to name a few more, or at least one more protected area in addition to Black River. We're doing a watersheds policy, a keys management policy, a beach access and management policy, and on and on. The point is that the agencies within my ministry, like the Forestry Department and others, are working for you. They're working to actively advance the government's 3 million trees in 3 years initiative. And I urge all of you to get on board, plant a tree, get it, your association should speak to me after this, since you have invited me as keynote speaker. And so I'm asking you, as part of the action coming out of this, that you connect with me so that we can get planting of trees, as myself and Costas did with the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force across the board for all JPs across Jamaica. Trees are our lungs. They're the lungs of the planet. You know what they do, removing carbon dioxide, storing carbon, and releasing oxygen so that we can breathe and live. So this financial year, we are going to continue to draft amendments. We're going to continue to build legislation, all with a view to partnering with you, partnering with every sector of our society to build a better Jamaica. You would have seen me planting mangroves and planting trees. That's just one part of it. This discussion is perhaps the more important part. So you can spread out the network and get more people involved. I'm calling on you to drive the process of educating and informing the residents in St. Mary about the importance of protecting our environment and becoming climate resilient. The issue is way too important for us to ignore. And also, let us be clear, it requires our urgent action. I'll leave you with this one last thought, and it is this. We might very well be the last generation that will have the opportunity to do something positive about climate change, so that we can have a healthy planet for generations that are not yet born. So I want you to think about that. As you go about your daily tasks, I urge you, JPs, I urge you to ponder. Tanisha Miller, all of you, Costas Johnson, Avia Gibbs, Lamar, I urge you to think about the implications of whether or not we could be the last set of people on this planet to actually treat the problem. One thing COVID should have taught us is that we should expect the unexpected, and that things that we only think can happen in the movies, Debbie Clark, Patricia White, they will happen in real life if we do not protect ourselves. So Virtual James, your actions, our inactions will have repercussions for the quality of life of the residents of St. Mary, for the quality of life of the occupants, of the tourists, and of every Jamaican, now and for generations to come. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak on these important issues. I hope you feel my passion. I hope you feel how concerned I am. And I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to express my thoughts this evening. God bless you all. God bless this beloved country, Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. A very, very sobering presentation. Very, very sobering presentation. And that comment you made a while ago, we might just be the last generation who has the opportunity to fix this. It's a real, real sobering presentation. I want to open the floor now for interaction, questions, comments. Okay, the minister is still here. So we have a few minutes set aside for that. Okay, at this point in time. So you can either type it into the chat room and I will read it, or you can put on your camera and speak to the minister or just speak to him, okay? So let's have a time of interaction. So while you're thinking about what you want to say or write, I just want to ask the minister, some persons of the view that the planet, generally speaking, have passed the point of no return in terms of fixing the environmental issues. Do you share that view, and what's your view on that?
Well, unfortunately, you know, in some way, there are impacts that are already irreversible. But, you know, again, we have to look more on the opportunities. Yes, there are some irreversible effects already, but we also have amazing technology and innovation that allows us to find different ways to build back better. So we may have destroyed, you know, coral reefs that will never return, but we now have innovation that allows us to use glass that we would usually throw away to to create the kind of structures that will stimulate the growth of new coral reef. Destroyed a lot of what you see at Hellshire and other places and had significant beach erosion already, but we have groins and other types of, just technology and mechanisms that we can use to build forward. So the answer is yes. We do have some damage that will never, that we cannot now repair, but we are still within that range, Brother Boyens, where we can use the information and the science to our benefit. I see Carol Vezina has her hand up.
Yes, go ahead, GP Carol.
Good evening, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for that presentation. I did in fact see your passion in there, sir. So one question, one comment. Could you, possibly through the Custis office, if we could get some additional links that we could continue to keep ourselves informed of this very important area of the environment and climate, please? Because you spoke, but sir, I can tell you I haven't retained a lot. I've been trying to write down some notes, but I'd love some additional links to read at leisure. The second thing is, earlier on you talked about integrated and targeted support. And I think that's important, but I want to also bring it to just my level, our local level, our everyday level. I've recently just had to write to the garbage disposal persons in our area, the Northeast Parks and Markets people. We need some integration, Minister, because laws have been put in place to stem burning of garbage, to stem dumping. But our garbage still continues not to be collected on a regular basis. 3 weeks, no garbage collection, Minister. So you leave people to their own device to break the law, to burn garbage, and hence to damage the environment and damage me, because I'm very susceptible to smells. My body don't like it at all. And I have a 102-year-old mother who can't take these extremes either. So I think the integration that you talk about is very necessary in your government agencies, sir, so that all of us know what our actions or non-actions cause in terms of climate and environment issues, sir.
Carol, if you'd allow me to say so, you have a beautiful name. That's my sister's name. Firstly, Ms. Vezina, yes, you're correct. We have to break down the information so it is properly digested. And we have an initiative called Renew Jamaica that you are going to be a part of. And we, through the Renew Jamaica initiative, are going to build out smaller bits of material, and it will be accessible to all Jamaica. Every Jamaican is going to be a part of this initiative to understand and to build awareness and understanding of the issues that we are facing. That's number one. Number two, again, you're directly on point with the fact that as a government, we cannot just talk. We have to lead and act and do. And so we are pushing from my ministry what we define as a resource efficiency program, so that government will be leading out in terms of the integration of even recycling and other programs in government agencies, as well as a program to utilize focal points across the ministries, so that issues that may not be within my responsibility, like collection of garbage, that is local government,
right?
But because it impacts the environment, because it impacts climate change, we want to use our focal points to see how we can help strengthen the other ministries in their own understanding and their own operation. And sometimes the issue isn't that they don't know. Sometimes it's a financial problem. Sometimes it is a capacity issue. That is where we are going to fall in line to give strength and support, to get the funding internationally, to build out the capacity that is needed, and to help push out those workshops, Ms. Vezina, for the Renew Jamaica to really give us a strong public sector framework to be able to do what we're asking the country to do.
Yes, right.
So I want to thank you for your two questions,
Thank
for
you.
your question and your comment.
Yes.
Directly on point.
Excellent. Okay, any more questions, comments? You can indicate by in the chat or by reactions or by speaking up. Still have a few minutes left.
Everybody else understands everything that I said.
Okay, just a comment from JP Paulette McLennan. She's looking forward to the collection of her garbage in different moods and otherwise.
That's one of the things that, again, collection of garbage comes under the NSWMA, which is an executive agency of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. But we do work together in the whole of government approach to make sure that the services to our country are at a standard that you deserve. And so a part of what we are doing with my ministry is to give support by letting all of the other agencies know the impact that their service has on our mutual objective. Virtual James, I see your hand in the air.
Thank you very much. I am not waving though, just seeking your attention.
Like you just don't care.
I do care. Thank you very much, Minister. It's really a pleasure having you on. And I really am touched by the link you have made between climate change, the environment, the socioeconomic impact, and land utilization. The question I have for you is what effort is being made, interministerial effort is being made to enforce the existing laws? And two, how it is that your ministry, a new ministry, can mobilize the communities to better protect the environment?
Well, I think I need to hire the JPs because you guys have some good questions. You see, following what Ms. Vezina said a while ago, the integrated approach is required even in the examination and interrogation of what we're currently doing within the law. Sometimes we have a tendency, Brother Burchell, to say, well, we need more laws, amend the laws, when we're not even doing as much as we can to enforce what we already have. So in my ministry, we have set up what we call the NURIC Integrated Task Force. That task force is going to be strengthened soon with some additional persons. And a part of the responsibility of the task force is to really comb through what we currently have with a view to defining whether or not the law is sufficient, whether the policies are sufficient, and if it is problems with our operation, what we can do now and in the future to either make things become more effective by adjusting how we operate or introducing new systems that will allow for us to achieve our ultimate goal. And I give you an example. This week I had a meeting with the mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew. And a big part of the takeaway from the meeting was that we need to collaborate on the issues relating to no-build zones and on the issue relating to just the whole execution of development in the city. And the same goes for St. Mary in terms of how we would expect the development of the space to be measured and regulated. That goes back to your question, because a lot of the regulation and development, if it is to be ordered and planned, will need for us to enforce against those who are not falling in line. We know that we live in a country where if you give an inch, people are going to take a mile. And also, we know that not just Jamaica, just human nature is such that we have to work within a framework and a parameter and guidelines in order for us to really take the little steps that we need towards sustainability and resilience. So, Mr. James, I can assure you that my ministry sees it as a priority, that we are already going through the process of interrogating our own legislation, and that we are looking on sister ministries to see what they are doing and their laws to see how we can work together to really ensure that we do what you said, enforce within the law as we have it now. I see somebody asking me, if you don't mind me taking it, Mr. Boynes. In protecting our environment, we have to do something about correct disposal of plastic bottles. Mr. James, unless you have an additional comment, I would move to that question.
I thank you very much, Minister. Go right ahead to the next question.
Thank you. And it seems that everybody, except Mr. Boynes, has a name connected to my family. Carol is my sister's name, and James is my grandfather's name. All right, so don't feel bad though, you know, Wesley. Wesley.
You ask my middle name.
So, Mr. Minister, the question is from Valerie Bedward. In protecting our environment, we have to do something about the correct disposal of plastic bottles. Miss Bedward, I am so pleased to announce. You see, it's Joycelyn Edwards, you know, she turned on her camera a while ago and I got tongue-tied. I'm pleased to announce that we have an initiative called the Deposit Refund Scheme that has been launched. It was very quiet because of all the COVID issues going on, but you will hear it loudly announced soon, where Jamaica will soon have the same system we have for glass bottles for plastic bottles. You notice you can't find one glass bottle on the ground because man, I make money off of the glass bottle. There's an incentive. People take the bottles and they go and they get back their money as a return. So we're doing the same thing. It won't be the same cost, but it's the same concept. And the hope, Miss or Mrs. Bedward, is that we will do multiple things with the one concept. Number one, we're going to create employment opportunities. We're going to create 2, revenue generation opportunities. And 3, and I think very, very important, we're going to clean up our environment because no one will feel comfortable throwing money out the window. They may feel comfortable, Pamela Derek, throwing a bottle out the window, but when they know that the bottle is money, you're going to see them keeping that bottle until they reach back at the yard to put it in the bag to carry it and get it reclaimed for money. So those are the things that we intend to do. And ultimately, the issue of the plastic bottles is the #1 issue with plastics, even greater than the issue about the scandal bags and straws. Plastic bottles block up our drains, they cause flooding, they cause problems, they break down to microplastics, they get into the fish, into the bird, and ultimately, who eats fish and birds? Human beings. So they get into us. So you're talking about cancers and all these problems that we have been having, much more. Caroline Francis, the reality is that a lot of it comes from the improper disposal of our own garbage, our own waste, in particularly our plastic bottles. I see Pamela is asking if the community could know when it's garbage election day. Mr. Boynes, I think you're going to have to set up a time. You're welcome, Ms. Bedward. You're going to have to set up a time when the JP Association can speak to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development and bring on NSWMA so that they can answer these local questions. And I think you also have an NSWMA rep I'm not fit to answer those questions, but I tell you, if you wish, I will carry them, carry the questions or forward them to the relevant person for you. But I really couldn't tell you about the garbage collection day. That's not within my remit, but I do understand your concern.
Yes, understood, Honorable Minister. I will take one more question or comment for the Minister. Anybody wants to take up that opportunity?
Good night.
Yes, go ahead.
Good night, everyone. When it comes to the environment and climate change, I am passionate about it overall. And when it comes to that, there's just so much to say, because within your little niche, you're doing what you can within your little niche to ensure that your environment is kept clean and well and safe and all of that. But there comes those persons who don't care. They throw their bottles on the street. They're driving in their vehicles and they just throw the bottles on the street and stuff like that. So maybe some signages could put up at strategic points on main roads where we could have keep your roads clean, keep the environment clean, do not dispose of your garbage here or something like that. So it's just a thought that came to mind, because a lot of times I see these things happening. Persons just throw their garbage out through their windows on the road, and it really annoys me. Sometimes I really want to stop them, but I can't. So it's really commendable for us to have the minister here to speak on this issue, because it is a pressing issue and it is a concern for everyone, and we should stop and really think about and how we can play our little part as JPs in informing, especially the youngsters, as to how to keep their environments clean, so that the waste and disposal will not be so much in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. And part of the Renew Jamaica initiative, which you're going to hear about when we launch it later on, we're now in a consultation phase. Part of it is going to see us going into communities across Jamaica, including St. Mary, with signage, with messages, with billboards, and identifying persons as Renew Jamaica community monitors to help us to maintain the cleanliness. There's a lot to be said about how we treat our environment and how that relates to how we see ourselves and how others see us. And so I completely, I accept and welcome your comments, Ms. Edwards, and I thank you for your comment.
Okay, thank you very much. There's one more question there, Minister, in the chat room. You want to take it?
The air quality. You would have heard me, Cummings, speak to the issue that I had just this evening, coming in and smelling whatever it is that's burning in the air. We have a serious problem in Jamaica in terms of just taking for granted the gift that God has given us of greenery. If not for the lush greenery that we have in this country, in some areas, we would be choking because of how we release carbon dioxide and how we carelessly burn across Jamaica. It goes back to what Mr. Burchell James mentioned in his own comments and questions, and the ability or inability for us as a people to properly enforce. And I'm going to be vigorously attacking the area of air quality. I tell you this, Cummings, we are also looking into the discussions on innovation in terms of the vehicles that we use in the country, and looking on all of the various aspects that impact the quality of our air. And we are going to be working with other agencies and ministries to make sure that this becomes a priority area. What I will do, Mr. Boynes, I don't know if I can, how do I do this now? I would love to put in the chat a link to my sectoral debate so that you can see what we are focusing on, including air quality. I'm going to try and do that so that Cummings and others will have an opportunity to read it.
Or you can WhatsApp it to my number there, and I will forward it to everyone in the group.
Okay, what is your number?
1-876-579-5007.
All right, so I'll WhatsApp it to you.
Yes, I'll forward it to everyone. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I don't know if you'll be around for the vote of thanks. It was such a great presentation. So Mr. Burchell James, who is supposed to do the official vote of thanks at the end, I'll ask him to come and do your piece now.
Yes, because I have to run.
Because you have to run. So
I've been up from 6 o'clock. You all would have heard what's going on in my constituency with the accident with the 9 youngsters. Very unfortunate. We have lost 3 of them already, and there's another one that is not doing too well. So, I've taken the opportunity everywhere that I've spoken today. I've had 5 engagements today, and at every engagement, I've ended it by just, yes, in his, Ms. Vicina, in every engagement, I've ended it by just imploring that we understand the importance of responsible decision making and being responsible. And the loss of life, no matter what anybody wants to say about the police, it's not the police's fault. This is coming from disobedience, indiscipline, bad decisions, reckless driving, driving without a license, driving while drunk and drinking, and not listening to even the people in the vehicle who are begging you to move over and give somebody else a chance. And what has happened is that we have lost some really brilliant youngsters. Today I visited Bear Technical, where one of the youngsters attended school, and it's so sad to see his teacher come up to me and show me the hammer that he had just finished making last week, Mr. James. If you imagine the mechanical engineer teacher, Brother James, almost break down in front of me. It is a rough time. So I just want to say to you, JPs, as I leave and allow you to say thanks, take the time, please, every one of you, if it's even one youngster, one, when you leave this call between now and the next 24 hours, I beseech and ask you, speak to one of them about the importance of responsibility and the consequences that can flow by making ridiculously stupid decisions. It has led to the whole community has been shifted. 3 losses of life so far, another one expected, and others severely injured, yet hundreds of people impacted.
Yeah. Burchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, Honorable Costas, our distinguished guest speaker, fellow JPs, and members of the media team. It has been an extremely well articulated and persuasive argument presented tonight for the whole matter of climate change. Minister, you have not only spoken about adaptation, protection, mitigation, but resilience, building resilience. And as you alluded to, the responsibility is our generation to ensure that the corrective measures are taken. We commend you for the work that you have done in pulling together this new ministry and to the impact you have made nationally, regionally, and internationally. You have represented well and you have articulated our concerns. As a small island state, we have much to worry about. I particularly commend you for the nexus you have created between climate change, cultural preservation, socioeconomic impact on our communities. And you have driven home the fact that we really have to go out there and work. And so far, Honorable Minister, they say, good work deserves more work. And while we are ready and willing to support your cause, we are asking that you now provide us with information and your ministry do the sensitization that is essential if we are going to make the change. We know the work you have to do. We know the challenges in your constituency and in your ministry. And we commend you for sharing with us this evening. You have really made a tremendous impact on us. And so we move from carbon emission, we move from coastal water, we move from protecting our rivers and planting trees. So many things, which reflects your adaptability, your knowledge, and your experience. You have always been hardworking. We commend you for what has happened in the past, and we certainly look forward to seeing greater work from you in the future. Again, thank you for being with us and sharing so freely and so candidly tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Thank you to every one of you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you to Costas for the invitation. But I want to tell you that I really enjoyed this discussion with you. And I really am very grateful for the questions and comments. It shows me that we are on the right track at the ministry, because there is an alignment between what we are seeking to do and what you are concerned about. So I really hope that you continue to get the message out. We will try our best to put together that information. And I'm going to also, as I see here, perhaps Costas Johnson, what we need to do is try to get this message across to some other JP associations along other parishes in the country. So again, thanks again, Mr. James, for the kind words. Thank you to everyone. I cannot stay, so I'm going to say to you good night. I'm going to go and help my daughter now with her spelling homework. That's what happens when you have an 11, a 9, and a 5-year-old. You can only be minister up to a certain time. So good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, Minister. We'll talk.
Good night and thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Minister. Good night.
Okay. Okay, we thank you very much, Minister. We'll hand over now to the Honorable Costas. We'll go straight into the Costas corner. Good night, Honorable Costas.
Good night, Wesley and the team and all JPs in attendance. I'm sure that we really enjoy that presentation.
Yeah.
And we need to continue on this line in driving home the importance of protecting our environment. Many years ago, not very long ago, when I was in, it was fourth form at the time at school, one of the assignments we got was to read a book every week and to report on it. And I remember going to the library and reading and getting a book and read it. I don't remember the name because it's not very long ago. And it spoke to, it's a science fiction, and it was telling about the future that will require us to walk around with oxygen tanks on our back and no grass on the ground. And the water was as brown as the soil itself. And it's just coming home to me the way we are behaving these days, that very shortly we will be approaching that possibility. So I'm just shoring up the environment, and I'm going to ask that all JPs, if everybody takes charge of that grid around them, in their communities, in their homes, in your office, and be that environmental warden. Probably in addition to having the name Wesley Bowen JP, we should add to it Valerie Bedward JP EW, Justice of the Peace and Environmental Warden. Because there's no time than now to begin to look after our environment. In terms of the tree planting exercise, I have already started the process of, I'm in touch with the forestry department, but I am a bit slow in moving faster because we are entering a period of drought. And I wouldn't want us to plant the trees and we are not able to take care of them. So there is a national tree planting exercise coming up sometime in October. And through our groups, our committees in the association, the 11 of them, we will make arrangements to identify suitable areas for in the communities for tree planting exercise and see how many of these trees we can access for the national tree planting exercise. But it's not just planting the trees as some of us do, but we have to plant the trees and take care of them. So that is an exercise that is on track, and you will hear more about it as it unfolds. Please, I'm asking you, look after your plastics. Take care of them, don't throw them away. Carry your bags to the supermarket and recycle where you can recycle. And avoid just throwing out garbage. I know there is, we have to be more aggressive. I think I will talk with the parish, see if I can locate the parish manager in terms of garbage collection. I know they have a schedule. In my community, they do have a schedule. We know when they are coming. So it's for us as community reps to become more aggressive and to reach out to these the managers for the national waste collection and get them to tell us when they are coming into the community so that we can securely bag our garbage. Those just throw them on the roadside, as I see happen all over, and I'll cause people to collect them. I think we are the only country right now that not separating garbage into the different component, plastic, organic, and recycled ones. So there's a lot that we have to do in order to protect our environment. And remember, we might say that, you know, why should we worry? But we have those grandchildren that we love so much. We need to protect them also, right? Basically, that is what, as far as the environment, I've tried to get another speaker. I think we might, that probably might be for September, because I know administrators might decide to take the summer off, July and August. So come September, I will try to get another speaker that can speak to, especially to the recycling of plastics and why it is important that we deal with those. So I'm looking around to see who I can get. In terms of training for JPs, the new applicants have started their training. Yes, they started their training yesterday, and so they'll complete it by 2 Wednesdays' time. And the swearing will take place as is possible, and it will be done in regions. We are looking at 3 regions to, to not to go beyond the COVID limits or not to have too many people, even though the limit might be 50 or so. We will try to minimize the crowd that we have, because that is dangerous. So we have to be careful. It's not over yet. Some countries are seeing a 4th wave. So please remember, wear your mask, wash your hands, maintain your distance, and be vaccinated if you can. There's a saying, people are saying that the vaccine was developed to kill us off. But I don't think the virus, COVID, need any help. The virus can manage on itself. They don't need somebody to help them to kill off us. There's so many, look, we have gone over the 1,000 mark already. And I forget the count, that is some millions have died. And we're still going, because up to now, we are still seeing cases coming up. So we have to be careful and be able to stand up for what will help us as a group. Let us not be too selfish. There's one that I heard, but I don't want to repeat it, that was said by a 80-year-old man, why I'm not taking the vaccine. But use your imagination why I'm not taking it now. In terms of other training, I have spoken to the director at JTI, Jamaica Justice Training Institute, and we are looking at training for lay magistrates, new JPs with 2 years commission to be trained as lay magistrate. But one of the problems that we are facing right now is that the trainers are only available on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So we have sent out a request that for you to indicate to us those who can make it on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so that we can arrange the relevant dates. And I will try to see how best we can arrange for other training to take place. Our association is taking shape, and I'm sure that you would have heard from your local coordinator. We are going to meet next week, Thursday again, and trash out certain things like constitution, so that, gradually we will have a very concrete association. I don't want to rush into it, and it's not properly organized. I want us to take our time and build so that our building will be firm and will be there, and it will be helpful to everybody, and it will serve its purpose. Basically, those are the things that I have to say tonight, unless there are any questions that anybody would like to ask, and I will try my best to answer if I can.
Honorable Costas, some persons are already lay magistrates were wondering if there was refresher training plan for them.
Priority will be given to those who have not been trained before.
Okay.
That's where priority will be. If there's any, if the numbers, if we can add to the numbers, we will look at that. But you have to, unless you register with the office indicate your preference with the office, we cannot deal with it because I cannot guess who wants and who don't want. But there is, I'm waiting on a further email because I think they are asking us that we must be very selective in people who we ask to be trained as lay magistrate. I don't know why. I haven't seen that documentation as yet, but I was told about it. But as soon as it's unfold, I'll let you all know.
Any more questions for the Costas? GPs, comments, concerns?
There is something that I want to address. And this was in my regular discussion with the members of the police force. One pointed out to me that there are some justices of the peace who refuse or who take exemption to being stopped by the police. When the police have a roadblock, if they stop them, the first thing they're going to tell them is that, you know who am I? I'm a justice of the peace. You heard what the minister said a while ago, that the accident in Clarendon was because people refused to abide by the law of the country. The law of the country gives the police the authority to stop any vehicle once they have concerns. So please allow them. As justice of the peace, you should be proud that the police are taking care of you. And more, as you get more involved with them by visiting the stations and showing the respect and commanding, not demanding the respect from them, I think we'll have a better understanding. And when you're on the road, they will try to protect you and to wave you on properly. Don't demand respect. You have to command respect. You have to behave in a manner that cause people to respect you. Don't tell people, you know who I am? I'm a Custis of St. Mary. No. That shouldn't be so. So please, I'm asking you all, and I've said it to the police. If you are disrespected by any one of my JPs, let me know. I will have a talk with them and show them why it's important that they support and encourage our police members, because they have to be working very hard. While we are sleeping, they are out there on the road patrolling, right? They are there. The numbers, if you look at the numbers of the members of the force and look at the numbers of us, you will see that we are very much short-staffed in terms of human resources. So rather than add to their stressful work, let us help them to do a better job. Encourage them, talk to them, and show them that you also care about their welfare. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Honorable Costas, and I really hope that as Justice of the Peace that we really pay attention to especially the last point made by the Honorable Costas, about how we interact with the police. Okay. Let us really be an example to the other members of the public, the community around us who are looking on, and you know, we are setting the standards. So if we are disrespectful to the police, you know, what should we expect from everybody else? So thank you very much, Honorable Costas. Okay, so we are wrapping down, and we have basically come to the end. So we have a word from our sponsors one more time, and when we come back, we'll have the vote of thanks, by the final vote of thanks by Burchell James, and then we will stand for the national anthem, which will be done by the Northgate High School. So let's hear from our sponsors.
Do you have children 10 to 14 years old? Are you looking for an online school option that offers live video interaction between students and the teacher? Are you looking for a safe environment to help build character in your child? Then contact us at Northgate High School. We engage a values-based approach to education while delivering academic and life skills training. Parents of homeschooled children and those with children who are temporarily without a school option for this term, contact us. We may just be the answer you're looking for. Call us 876-506-2785 or email us northgatehigh2012, that is northgatehigh2012@gmail.com. Northgate High School, impact through education.
Okay, at this time we will go into the vote of thanks. I'm going to ask Burchell James to wrap up, and then we will end with the national anthem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Costas, fellow justices of the peace, members of the media team, it really is a pleasure for me to move this vote of thanks. Tonight has been a very enlightening, interesting, and enjoyable evening. And I would like to thank those, on behalf of the group, thank those persons who contributed to making it such an evening. I'd like, first of all, to thank JP Carleen Allen for the devotion, for setting the tone, for ensuring that we were in the right frame of mind and that the Almighty was guiding us as He has been ever since we started the round table. I'd also like to thank JP Carol, Dean Bezina, for the update. It showed the work that was being done. It shows the structure the Costas has put in, and we certainly look forward to the outcome that it will certainly bring. I'd also like to thank our sponsors for ensuring that the technological system is in place to facilitate this ongoing roundtable. The ease with which we have been able to operate is belied by the work that is being done. It seems easy, but it required a lot of coordination. And so I'd like to thank the members of the media team who have been with us and who every month that we have a program are there in the background providing the support. We also thank them for the training that they readily provide for those who avail themselves of it. I'd also like to thank JP Paulette, who so ably introduced our guest speaker. she blended his various accomplishments in a manner that created anticipation, and the guest speaker did not disappoint. We have addressed the guest speaker's contribution already, but I just like to again convey through you, Mr. Chairman, the gratitude of both the Costas and the other members of the association. Our pleasure in having him, for the thoughts that he has stimulated, and for the innovation he has brought to his ministry. We hope that it will have somehow initiated in us a desire to go out there and help to protect our environment, which is really protecting ourselves too. I'd like to thank, Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Costas. Thank him not just for his presentation at these meetings, but for conceptualizing it and seeing it move from strength to strength. It has been and continues to be a very useful and informative forum. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I can't help but thank you for your dynamism, for the manner in which you have guided the program, for your steadfastness in building out the program, despite some challenges. And you have managed it each time in such a way that there is participation. You have engaged the various members of our association. And I commend you for that, because it's only when we allow persons to participate that they develop, and we build capacity within our association. So again, on behalf of all the members of this association, I convey these thanks to the respective persons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, GP Burchell. I just want to say before we have the national anthem that I have forwarded the minister's sectorial presentation in the Costas communication WhatsApp group. So if you are not part of the Costas WhatsApp group, please let me know. I'll send you a link and pull it in. So I sent it in there. So if you check right now, it'll be there. Okay, thank you again. So let's now have our national anthem, and which will be done by the Northgate High School. And this will be the end of our program for this evening.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guard us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers.
bless you all, fellow justices. You are dismissed. Have a restful and safe evening.
Good night, everyone.